Shopping is hard, right? But there's a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And she sends just for me pieces. Plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what I love and send back the rest. It's so easy. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
You found your person. Now let the knot help you with everything else. The knot connects you to the wedding inspo, vendors, venues, and planning tools you need to make your day totally you. Having helped plan 25 million weddings, we've got your back when it comes to every little detail like RSVPs, budgets, and more. Because your wedding comes to life with the connections that matter the most. Get started at theknot.com/audio. The Knot. Let's plan your wedding together.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Oh, now you want to blame it on dyslexia.
He's so funny.
He's definitely neurodivergent. Let's see. I'm trying to get the sign and the shot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, perfect. And you know you're going to have to sign it before you leave, too.
Has Sarah come over and been on?
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, let's see.
Girl, my big old hat is blocking the whole sign. I love hats. That's not that.
Girl, you could block this sign if you want to.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Hey everyone. I'm a stickler. Making stuff. Right. There we go. Yes, yes. Everything is on and we are live. Actually, I'm going to turn YouTube over to you just a teeny bit more. There you go. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. And the correction of your name is Niah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You guys, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get it started. And I'm going to, as much as I can, actually, I'm not even going to play the intro. I'm not. So if you guys are just now coming in, it's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no limits. Make sure that you follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Couch Chronicles No Limits on Instagram, THA-Couch on Facebook, TikTok, Big O, tagged, like, fan base, and I think that's it right now. And tag. Oh, wait. I already said it. Mm-hmm. Follow my guests on all social media. Her information will be in the description. And we are, I'm running a little late. Don't judge me. But without further ado. No, it's not. It's on me, too. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get it popping. Now, first of all, can you tell everybody, who you are and where you're from?
Yes, so I am Niahforokcps, and I'm running to be your next OKCPS board chair. I am from Oklahoma City, born and raised here. I moved away to go to University of Houston for a little while, got married, did that whole thing, and some things brought me back here probably about 11 or 12 years ago, and we stayed here for the most part, and we moved back to Houston one time, but I'm an Oklahoma native, Okie, so
Okay.
yeah.
You said something brought you back here. What was that?
Well, business, business and everything, and so we decided that my husband played in the NFL actually.
Oh,
Some
wow.
people don't know that about me, so he played in the NFL, and we lived all around the country, and then we moved back. And so we kind of retired here when we retired from the NFL, and so we came back to Oklahoma City.
Right. Now, how was that, being with somebody that was in the NFL?
So it was pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook kind of thing. So that in itself, is a little bit different, but it was good. It was good. It's not as exciting sometimes as people will say they are, and then in other times it's very exciting. So
Right.
It's all the drama, all that stuff. So
Right.
yes.
So it's actually like it's different because growing up, I remember dating didn't consist of Instagram and Facebook, So was that kind of like almost like a culture shock to you?
Yeah, that is. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? For people my age, I'm just full disclosure, I'm 50. So for people my age, we like, why you gotta do everything on the internet? Some things you shouldn't take a picture of, because we all, I think the children actually forget, we did stupid things. We just had sense enough not to record it.
Right.
So, it's like, my kids literally used to get double punishment if they recorded it and put it on the internet.
Really?
Yes, because if you're gonna do something stupid, why would you record it and put it on the internet?
Right.
No, because now, what else stupid you gonna do and put it on the internet?
Yeah.
So, we just don't. I just don't subscribe to that at all.
Yeah. Right. So. It's and for those that's watching, I'm older too. So it's different when when life is like the internet, and then you literally like, life has passed us by. And then sometimes I'm looking like, am I getting old? It can't be that I'm getting old, or is this time
they
is
say
just
30 is the new 20?
Yes.
40, 50 is the new 40.
Exactly. So. Now, Niah, you didn't start off as a teacher. What helped you realize that teaching was your calling?
Well, yeah, so my journey is a little different because after college, I went to college, met my husband. I didn't graduate then. So we did the whole NFL thing, and during that time I actually graduated, but due to like our lifestyle and moving around and things, I did not start working then. So right. I had 2 kids, married, everything before I actually started working. So of course my degrees were in accounting and finance, but when they're looking for entry-level accounting positions, they're looking for somebody who can work 60 to 80 hour, 60-hour, 80-hour weeks. And that's not really somebody that's married with 2 kids. So I actually found it very hard to find a job at that time. And so I got into like underwriting and risk assessment and banking and things like that. And so I did that. And I thought that I would probably do that forever, but something hit me. And I actually said, because my son was not born yet. And so it was probably about 13 years ago. Something hit me and said, I started going into schools and seeing all the problems and things like with the schools, and now I have kids and like what that looks like. And so I actually said like, hey, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life volunteering financially if things come through, and and I don't have to work again. I'm gonna do that. And just like everybody else, like I closed the deal, I'm ready and everything, and then I didn't quit. And with that, we ended up getting laid off. So like I took that as God was saying, this is time. And so I kind of went with it. I started out volunteering at the schools, and then I said I should probably go get a license to teach. And so I started becoming a teacher, and just my journey has gone on from there since then.
Wow, it really was a lot of self-talking in your head. Like I should probably, or this should probably, and a lot of speaking it into existence.
Yes, and I think my husband's not very fond of it, but I kind of let God move me and it kind of lead my path. So I could not find a job and things like that when I first moved here and was looking for a job. And I literally was on the phone with my friend, never forget it, sitting in the bed on the phone with my friend. I was like, I got all these qualifications and I can't get even an entry-level job in Oklahoma. I was like, I'm going to apply for a job in Dallas. Maybe they'll appreciate somebody. And literally apply for the job. Now, mind you, I have been getting like rejection. Like, I'm getting interviews. Sometimes I'm not getting interviews. Even for like the most entry-level position, I'm getting no callbacks. And so, I applied for that job in Dallas and was working in 24 hours for double what I was going to make here in Oklahoma City. So what I was trying to make. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like, and I got a higher position and everything in 24 hours. Somebody saw my resume online. I applied. And it was just a joke. Like, I'm just going to apply. Went, led that. And it happened so fast. Someone was like, can you be there to work tomorrow in 48 hours? I was like, I guess. Yeah. I mean, can I? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, and so luckily my sister and I have family and things like that. And I stayed with them for a little while. And I did back and forth to Dallas for like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for 5 years I was on the road until, I told you the deal closed, and then I ended up getting pregnant again at 40. That's a whole nother conversation. And so we just kind of let it lead us. I kind of let it lead us. And God said it was time.
Right.
So.
Wow. Now pause, because I want to rewind back to, you went from college to going with your husband to his football career. So you paused your life.
Yes.
For your husband.
Yes, and I'm telling you, my parents have been married for 50 years. My grandparents, on both sides, died together in the sense of, they never remarried. All my aunties and uncles, everybody in my family is married. So that is very untraditional for, this 2020 lifestyle, And so I am concerned because none of my kids are married.
Right.
But that is something that's very different in my family. Like, we really believe in marriage. We believe in partnerships and things like that. We have a very traditional lifestyle in that we believe in two people coming together and joining together and creating something together. And it is probably very hard. I literally was just speaking to somebody today because, especially in our community, Black men come with so much trauma and things like that, and even sometimes I told somebody at a game today, the same trauma that I feel like the Black men coming up in the 90s and things felt, like Black women, I think, may carry some of that same trauma like in this 2020. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so it's very difficult when you're trying to find somebody and things. And so I come from a very traditional background. Like I said, everybody in my family is married, and not too many people in his family is married. So we come from very two opposite situations. So much so that, like, when we first married, it was like, what time are the kids going to go to bed? And he was like, whenever they go. Well, he had never had a bedtime.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because his mom worked 2 jobs. Single mom, busting it, trying to, successful, yes, in her own right. But we just come from a very different place. And so when you're trying to join it together, it can be very difficult. And so, and the new age thing is like, oh, I'm not going to, be dealing with that, and I'm not going to be dealing with this and that. But it comes from a situation of, like, how do you build something successfully, that can actually last. And that's a very, unique perspective.
Yeah. And not a lot, and like you said, in our community, not a lot of Black families have, stay married long.
Well, I'm going to tell you. So you people may not like what I'm going to say, but I try to keep it 100 all the time.
Period. I
I live in a pretty nice side of town. All my neighbors are married. So I literally, one of my workers was like, Miss Niah, I don't need a wife. I got a partner and I don't need to be married. And I said, look outside. All these people are rich. All these people are married. So if they need one wife, you need 3. You know what I'm saying? Because they already rich. Why do they feel like they need a wife? And you feel like you don't,
Right.
And so, and even when we go back to the school, I've actually have talked to people about, like, talking to kids about the idea of marriage, and they're like, "Oh, Niah, they're not young, they're not old enough, they're in middle school." No, they are being inundated with TikTok, Instagram, all these kind of things that's telling them all these negative things about marriage and partnerships and monogamy and things like that that actually can help you build. Why not try to counteract that somewhere?
Right.
Like, because we're losing the fact that, like, do people really want to have families? Do people really want to have kids? Do people, really want to get married? We're losing that. Not just even in our community. Marriage is down just across the board. And we have to, I think those of us who understand the benefits of building partnerships should be talking about it, to say, because the other side of that, I really want people to kind of understand the other side of that is, the other side of that is, how do you, they build wealth like that. Two people working together to join something. A friend of mine and she was very successful in her career, and she married somebody who was, he graduated college and things like that, but he was just starting out. And so many of the things that they created and have is because of when she first started, it gave him the freedom, to go back to school and get a second degree, go do this, go do that. And they built a partnership, and now he's super rich and super successful, and, she doesn't work.
Wow. And that's literally every community. That's not just us. Yes,
because, and it's some really wild things out on the internet. Like, somebody was like, "Oh, I gotta be with this many people before I get married." It's like, whoa,
who
right.
told y'all this?
Yes,
it's like, well, I seen it on the internet.
Right. No, it's some real wild things out there. And so, and I don't think that people who have a different mindset, I don't think there's a lot of things to oppose that.
Right. I kind of feel the same way. I preach on the podcast to, tell your kids early about, fentanyl, because they're being taught about drugs that's already out there anyway. So teach them that these drugs aren't cool. And if you end up trying to take it, to make sure that you're safe, because the fentanyl is real.
Well, I would say to people, of course, I'm a school teacher. So, and this is not, I'm not a holy roller. So that's not who I am at all. But I've always stood on the fact that I don't know anybody that I know that was smart enough to make drugs. Not that I want to take. You know what I'm saying? So things that, are natural and things like that, we can have a conversation. But we got to understand, when fentanyl, from a science perspective, fentanyl is the first drug that was actually man-made 100%. And so we got to know that even the other drugs, even though they are harmful, so I'm not an advocate of drugs, but we got to remember that those drugs and things like that are man-made. Are from the earth. We may say what you want to say about them, and their harmfulness, but they are from the earth. And so you see kids immediately. That's who you see really dying, because I know people, on my side of town who have a life of drug addicts and drug habits and things like that, who are not getting killed from, having a bad run of fentanyl. But then you see kids who take one dose and kill half the party. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily know if they're, kids really cannot experiment with drugs in this climate. I know that.
Yeah, no.
I know that they don't want to,
It's not even good for them to smoke weed.
It's not.
And the reason why is because it can alter their mind while it's still developing.
So this is, and I'm going to say it again, I am not a holy roller, and I've had my fun share of, and things like that, but there's certain things I just never did, and not because, I'm going to say it again, I don't know anybody that I thought was smart enough to make me drugs, Bristol Myers, maybe, you know what I'm saying, but even the drug companies, we figuring out, all the stuff that they've given us and the harmfulness. But, so I am I try to take less of everything, so medication, anything like that, because I am not very trusting of, pharmaceutical people and things like that. So.
Oh, yeah. And it's too much that's out there. It's too much going on. Now, what was your career, you said before?
In finance and accounting. Underwriting and risk assessment.
How did you like that?
You know, it was good. You get, you know, it's exciting, it's fast paced, you know, that kind of thing. So that's good. And so, you know, it's a job. I never felt like that was what I was supposed to do. I will say that. I never did. So I was there. I was really good at it. I was top of my job, you know, all those kind of things. Everywhere I go, I've been like top tier in my job.
What's your zodiac sign?
Virgo.
Okay, I was going to say you giving Virgo energy.
Yeah, so I'm a Virgo. So I was always good at it because I don't really do things and like half tell it, you know, that kind of thing. But I never felt like that. So one time we got laid off and the whole place was crying. And I went back there. I had just got a promotion and everything. And they was like, oh, you're going to get 6 months at home, paid salary, and all of these like benefits. And I was like, yes. And, you know, and I felt bad because, you know, people were crying and things like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get to stay home for 6 months. I get paid. And, you know, because I had said to him all the time, like, this is not my forever job. This is not my forever job. And I had no idea what my forever job was at that time. But I knew that was not it.
Right. Because you didn't feel that.
I didn't. I really didn't. And, you know, with the banking industry and things like that, I mean, you know, certain banks do it well and they do it right. They value people. They value education. They value, like, thoughtfulness. They value like all the things that really make, you know, and certain ones don't. Right. And so, with that being said, yes. So with that being said, you know, I just felt like this was just not my space. It just wasn't. And you know, I knew that I was going to do something else.
Right. Wow. Now you say that you're solution oriented. How did you become solution oriented, and how do you know what solution is best? Because
you let the data lead you. We let the data lead us. I mean, you know, I don't believe in unicorns and fairies and glitter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love unicorns, I love fairies, and I love glitter in its place. I am the lady with the glitter shoes. I have a ton of, you know, glitter Uggs and, you know, and things like that. That is who I am, but I do not subscribe to glitter. Even, you know, in the situation with my family, my husband, he and I have been able to be in a very real place because I am not in denial about what it is. You know what I'm saying? I've never been in denial about what it is. When it was good, when it was bad, it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so when you come from a place like that, then, you know, I mean, that's just who I am, you know. And so, and, you know, I always try to look at things from with an open mind and open perspective. So I am not one-sided in that. So what does that look like? You know, so therefore, if you always look at it, you know, the Bible actually says that do not expect something of others as you not expect of yourself first. So if we're not going to make the move first, then, you know, you shouldn't expect other people to do it. So I kind of live my life by that, and, you know, and it's been successful for me. And so that's just who I am, like, at my core. And so when you live in that space, you know, and I'm okay. I've asked the principal before, what is the motto of this school? She said, what? I said, well, what's the motto or the goal of the school? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what is the direction the school is going in. And if you say to me, this is going to be the funnest school in America, or we're going to be the best athletes in America, I'm okay with that. Just put it on the front page of the newspaper. Let it be, this is what the goal is, and whoever wants to sign up for that can come. You know what I'm saying? But when you tell people the goal is to educate people, because she was like, well, Niah, I'm kind of offended you asked me if the goal is for the students to get an education. I was like, so how do we go do that every day? Like, what are we doing to actually achieve that goal? You know what I'm saying? So if we know that this is what it is, then what are we doing on a daily basis to achieve that? And, you know, and she just looked at me. And I said, this is not a question for you to answer today or tomorrow. You know, this is a real deep dive of, do we come here every day to achieve that? And, you know, and I think that that's something you can use, like, in your life and business and everything. You know, what is the goal? And are you coming there every day to achieve that goal?
And what are you doing to achieve that goal? Like, what ways are you,
what practices, what are you doing on a daily basis to achieve that? And if you, I mean, anything in life, I just want to be clear with this. This is not a just as education, or this is business or anything like that. This is anything in life. What are you doing to achieve that outcome?
That's real. That is so real. Now, what have you been doing to get people out to vote?
So I just came from door knocking.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I just came from door knocking, And we've been sending texts, and we actually, we've been on it with, with the text messages and things, and just going out and everywhere, birthday parties, anything I could find. There's going to be people there to tell them about the possibilities of something different. And I know that something different can be scary. So I recognize that, and I'm not naive about that. It just is what it is. But I believe that we can do something different. Right. And what that's going to look like, and how we get there, that's a conversation. But I do believe that if you're not even having the conversation, if you don't start from the premise of we can do better, we can do something different, then I think that it's dead in the water.
Now, what's door knocking like? What do you mean, like?
Well, we actually went up and ring people's doorbell and say, "Hey, have you heard about me?"
Wow.
And about the possibilities that we could do something different. Wow. And we get receptive. People ask you real questions. People, talk to you about it and things like that. And that is that's what we are. And just like coming on the show, just like door knocking and things like that, you meet people to where, and you don't ever know what questions they're going to ask you, anything like that. And you may come to people that you have a lot in common with. You may come to people where you have nothing in common with. But in that, when I become Oklahoma City Public Board Chair, I will be for the people who voted for me and the people who did not vote for me. And I recognize that. So people who I may agree a lot with and people who I don't agree at all. And so, but do we treat each other with respect? I know that, I was somewhere in the past couple of weeks, and, a guy said something I really felt was kind of inappropriate. And it wasn't really hurting me, but I felt like it was not something I wanted to be wrapped around with. And because I'm going to be the board chair for the whole district. And I have to protect, and I have to look out to people who I like and people who I don't like. Even being employees and things like that. I'm not looking for friends and things like that. But we have to work together to achieve a common goal. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whether we like each other, whether we don't like each other. And, what does that really look like? And so I try to be open-minded in all things. I try to be thoughtful in all things. And then we can always do things with respect. Whether whether you live a life I would live or whether you think like I would think, I can always treat you and meet you with respect. And as long as we respect one another, then we should be able to achieve some things together.
Right. That's true. Now, how, with the phone calls, how do you get people's phone numbers? Is it just random numbers?
No. So, no, this is really, I was even a little amazed. They have everything on you. There's not really too many people that, they have everything on you. Literally, they know what kind of car you drive. Literally, the information out there. I was maybe a little naive to that, I've gotten the phone calls, I've gotten this whole, and then we're not even going to talk about the spam calls that we get every day. And I'm like, man, how are they getting this stuff? But it's a ton of information out there on you. So it's readily available. Some of it is, public records. Some of it, they've just got
It's also for call centers. You know what I'm saying? It has to be readily available. That's how they get their money.
Right. So we get the numbers. I spent the first month or so data mining. So trying to find out who my voter is and what that block looks like, because I'm a data person. I'm a numbers. I'm a math teacher. I come from the business world. So being able to really say, I was speaking to someone the other day and I said, well, is that really your voter? And he said, what? I was like, well, who's your voter? So who's going to vote for you? And so I always lead when I'm speaking to people is, what, are you looking for change? That kind of thing. And even when they say, no, I'm happy with it, then, I ask them why. What is it that's going on that you're so happy with? And so that we can have a conversation, because I'm open to the fact that I could be wrong. I don't have all the answers, and I'm open to that. So what does that look like? Or if it's something that you really like, I want to know about it.
Right.
Because I'm not for me. I am for the kids. I'm for the system. Well, you know what? I'm not for the system at all. I'm for kids and I'm for outcomes. So, whether or not that comes from my plan, your plan, we can get the plan from McDonald's. I don't care where the plan comes from. You know what I'm saying? But what that looks like and how we get from point A to point B to show real achievement, real growth. Because, this is no offense to my friends that's running in the county races and the city council and all those other races. We're talking about children here. You know, as a school board, we're making decisions for children that will affect the rest of their lives. You know, and yes, you know, a rose can grow in concrete, but that's not the ideal place for it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yes, people can come up the rough side of the mountain, and we can always talk about the one person who came up the rough side of the mountain and made it. But what does that really look like? And when we plant, you know, we can go in the middle of the street, there'll be grass and there'll be weeds growing in the middle of the street, right? But then we go on the grass when it's planted in fertile ground and it's taken care of right. Then you get better outcomes when you plant it in fertile ground than when you plant it in concrete, right? And so that is like where we are in that, because I really want people to understand when we don't produce the academic outcomes that we want, when we go to a school and we say, oh, well, they really don't have a chemistry teacher, that, you know, that's actually saying that there probably won't be an engineer, they probably won't be a doctor, they probably won't major in science, anything like that, because they don't have the academic prowess to complete those classes. So that's the reason why, and you probably know this, you'll have a niece, a daughter, a sister, or somebody even that you went to school with who said, and they might have been very smart at your school, or you thought they were, and they get to college and they're like, oh, I'm majoring in business. You know what I'm saying? Or, oh, I'm majoring in, you know, something else. And they had the potential maybe academically to be a doctor, engineer, and things like that. They just probably were not prepared enough and got to class, and, you know, and didn't make it.
Right. Because I remember there was actually some classes that we had at my school that sociology, like everybody don't have sociology.
Right.
Like, and sociology prepares you for different stuff, you know.
Yes. It definitely does. It definitely does. And college sociology and psychology can be hard. And kids fail those classes. So what does that look like? And when we're not preparing them and not giving them those true outcomes. And I don't care if you say to me, Miss Lee, I just want to be a plumber, or I just want to work at McDonald's, or, you know, I want to be the manager at McDonald's, or anything like that. I'm okay with that. But I want to give everybody the opportunity to make those decisions for themselves.
Because it's being ripped away from them.
Yes. We are picking winners and losers, whether we want to have that conversation or not. We're saying that if you can get into an application school, then you are deemed to have these type of opportunities. But if you cannot get in an application school, and some of the differences are like crazy. Like, there's schools that have like 80 kids, like out of 1,000 kids, 100 kids proficient in math or reading. You know what I'm saying? Compared to one of the application schools where it's at least in the 300, 400, 500. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a big, big difference. That's not a small difference. That's a huge difference. And like, and we've been okay with that.
Right. A lot of people is okay with being stagnant.
Well, we've been okay with seeing, hey, class in SAS or Belle Isle or, you know, one of these schools, oh, that's a good school. You know what I'm saying? But, and then even a lot of people on the board in the city and things like that, they're like, oh, why does your kid not go to public school? Your kid go to a charter school. If you thought the public schools were so good, send your kid to the neighborhood school. None of y'all kids go to the neighborhood school. So we're not going to do that. I'm not going to judge people and things like that. When we improve the schools, I think people will come back. I think that people will be lined up to come back, but we have to improve the schools and give people a better option. We cannot, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, because those options are being taken away. And, you know, really depending on where the school is located, it's going to be.
If you don't have a car, is that realistic to say somebody can go from Spencer to Belle Isle?
Right.
They don't have a car. So you're basically saying that you may even have the academic prowess to go there, but you're basically saying to them, that's not an option for you because they don't have a car. These are kids. I want people to understand that these are not adults who've made decisions for themselves and things like that. These are kids that we're talking about, you know, these options and things like that. And that's the, you know, I'm 50. You know, I made my decisions. I've done, and I can live with them good or bad. You know what I'm saying? I can't. You know, but these are kids. We're taking away opportunities for kids, and I just want people to really understand that.
Wow. And that's real. You know, if you have kids, this is very important to be listening to and to get out there and vote. A lot of us, we always say, hey, I want to see a change. I want this. I want that. But we're not getting out to make it happen.
Right.
You know, speaking it is the first step. Now you got to make it happen. I'm just saying.
Right.
You got to make it happen. Now, how serious has your campaign been since you started?
Oh, very serious. Or, you know, because I think I can win. I don't do anything. I'm not a loser. So I don't do
That's some Virgo stuff if I ever heard it.
I'm not a loser. So, and I'm not comfortable with losing. I'm never going to be comfortable with losing. I am okay. My nephew is the rock star of this family. And then he literally could be the governor or something even bigger than that one day. And so I've always been, his mom is like so overprotective. And so I'm always his chaperone, even though he's grown. She's like, yeah, he can't go here, he can't go there, he needs somebody to go with him. So I'm the one who, like, ever since I bought him the first pair of red boots at 5 years old. So I've always been the one that, like, kind of takes him and things like that and go with him. Well, and somebody actually, when I was with him, somebody saw me and said, you should run. Well, roll that back to, I've actually, 2 things. One day I was in church, because when you run, you go to church a lot. And I said, God, I don't know if you really wanted me to come to church more, or you wanted me to be the Oklahoma City Public School Board chair. And I guess on Tuesday we're going to find that out. And so I am understanding that maybe God is seeing, like, I wanted you to be in church more. I wanted you to be closer to God more, and things like that. So, yes. And, so I'm open for all things that God has for me. And what God has for me is for me. Right. And so I understand that. But I am not a loser, so we do not go into it thinking that we're going to lose. We came up with a real plan. I have not slept much. We came up with a real plan. And I will say that, people came, stepped in and blessed me, that it helped me, on this journey.
Right. Now, you said that, when you run, you in church a lot. Is that the thing, or is that?
Well, people in church vote a lot. So you have to go around, and especially in our community and things like that, and talk, and talk where you want. If you can't, it's physically impossible to knock this many doors in a short, because they only give you 60 days. You register December, vote 1st of February. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we have a year where we can go knock the whole city. We have a few months. And so what does that look like? And so we've gone to we're lucky in that it was during Christmas. So every Christmas party, Christmas play, anything that you were having, we went to. And so, and it just gave us opportunity to talk to a lot of others.
Right. Wow. I never really thought of that, or I guess I never really knew that.
Yes, politicians have to go to churches. We have to go, go and shake. And you know what? That's a really unfortunate thing, because especially when you're talking about school board, in that, we're not actually talking a lot about academic outcomes and things like that. I'm there being somewhat of a politician trying to get a vote. And I'm not a politician. I'm a school teacher. I'm a mom. I am who I am, but I'm not a politician. And so that's been a little, like, catching up for me, that kind of thing of, like, catching up. And I will say that I don't ever want to be a politician. If I have to make a hard decision, I'm willing to come to you and say, we're making this hard decision, and I'm sorry, and I'm also willing to say I'm wrong. I've advocated for things in the past that, hindsight, maybe I was wrong. And if you ask me, I'm going to give you and if I'm going to say something you're not going to like, I'm probably going to lead with, you're not going to like what I have to say, so I'm going to keep it to myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to frame it. This is one of those things that, like, another motto of mine is, like, if you're really trying to help somebody, Joel Osteen said this, if you're really trying to help somebody, you tell people things that are going to enhance their life and things like that. But just seeing it just to be your right, you know what I'm saying? We have to really watch that, I actually sent a text to somebody and said, hey, a lot of things are, she's running for office and things. And I said, you should look at, like, how you present yourself and things like that. And I was like, and think about it. And my nephew was like, Miss Niah, I cannot believe you said that to her. And I'm like, well, I wasn't going to say nothing, but she texted me. And so when she texted me, I took it as an opportunity to say something, because, but I do have to watch that, because sometimes I'm too honest, which as a politician, people don't really like that.
Yeah. Right. No, that's true. And I really believe that, and I'm going to throw this out there again, that's the Virgo in you. My mom is a Virgo.
Oh, okay.
September the 19th.
Good people.
September the 19th. So, Virgos are very sure of themselves.
Well, I would say it again, like, who are we? And we have to have real conversations about, like, what that looks like. No, I was really, hold on one second, because I'm going to turn my, no, because, no, I wanted to share this on so we can get some of my people watching too.
Yeah. You guys, if you just now tuning in, it's the Couch Chronicles where it ain't no limits. Follow Couch Chronicles No Limits on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, I'm sorry. Couch Chronicles .No Limits on Instagram, THARealJANELL on all social media, including the YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe and follow the .com. And also THA Couch on Facebook, TikTok, big old fan base, tagged everywhere. I'm going to be transitioning off of Instagram and TikTok and also Facebook. So make sure that you subscribe and follow the other pages and download the other apps. Because if you guys are looking to get an actual payment, these apps that I'm talking about give you a big bang for your buck. I'm talking about thousands of dollars. So,
Okay.
yeah. Make sure that you follow my guests on all social media. It's all about love, support, good vibes, and positive energy. Yes. Now, and that's Niah for...
Niah for Okcps.
Okay, and that's on all social media, right?
Yes, Niah for
Yes.
Okcps. And
Okay.
my opponent, it was so funny when I looked. I was like, my opponent was like her name for OKC. And I understand the logic behind that because we're technically a part of OKC. But I am for OKC, but I am for OKCPS more. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I understand that, I understand, what that looks like. But, I want to make sure that people understand I am for public schools.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, there's a lot of people who believe that we can build up this city and not worry about the public schools. There are a lot of people who believe that we can build up this city and not be for public schools. And I'm a person who say I think they're wrong. I actually told the leader of the Chamber of Commerce this just the other day. She didn't even want to speak to me, but I made sure that, I was like, no, you need to speak to me. And I wasn't rude, but I made sure that I waited patiently for her to speak to me. And I told her, I see that you're for my opponent, but if the goal is to increase the education and things like that, because when I go to their meetings, all they're talking about is education. And when you ask questions, if you watch the debates and things like that, all the questions were about education. Even like county commissioner and, they're asking about the jail and other things, even with Ward 7, but they're asking about education. You follow what I'm saying? So like, we're not putting enough focus at where the problem is. The problem lies in education. And I believe that we cannot build up the city just thinking that we're going to just ignore the elephant in the room, OKCPS, and that we're not producing the academic outcomes. And this is not what I'm saying. There have been companies who have come to Oklahoma City to build businesses here and things like that, and who have said we cannot build those businesses here because Oklahoma City Public Schools is not built up enough. And so, or the school system, period. So they didn't just say OKCPS, they said academically. And in some cases, they wrote it on the front page of the Daily Oklahoma, and nobody was outraged about it but me. Wow. And so if we want to know, like, why there's no comptroller's jobs here, why are there no chief financial officer job here and things like that, why there's not a lot of those type of jobs, or many of those type of jobs, because we're not producing the academic outcomes that's going to lead companies. Because you got to remember, and this is something you all may, in business, when a company moves here, they don't want to say that there's a few CFOs or a few comptrollers. They have to have a grand pool to pull from, because they don't want to consistently be having to go outside the state and bring people in. You follow what I'm saying? And so if we're not producing high-level people at the high level, then we just don't see, we're not going to get those jobs here. We're bringing call centers here, we're bringing factories here, but we're not bringing high paying, jobs and things like that. And I believe it's completely related to education. Not maybe 100%, but I think it's greatly related to that. In that, we're not doing a good job of increasing educational outcomes for people.
And that's real. And earlier you said, you're a data person, so you were doing a little bit of data on, some of the people that were voting. What type of people have been voting for you that you've noticed?
People who are looking for change. People who think we can do better. I mean, my opponent, if you look at like all of her videos, especially in the beginning, it was all like the positive trajectory and the positive outcome and the positive momentum, and the data just doesn't say that. Until they released the recent data, it was completely going down, and even though it wasn't going steep, it was still going trending down. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at, even with the data, we moved some schools off the F list and things like that this year, thanks to Ryan Walters, because he actually curved a lot of the grades and things like that for proficiency to move those kids off the F list. And this is one of those things. This is not whether I'm pro Ryan, against Ryan. That's not anything like that. So have a conversation about that. We can. But this is like, we got to talk about real data and real facts. Because when he curved the grade, it's not like we went like this. It's like we just evened out. And what does that say? That means that if he had not curved it, we'd have continued to downward trend. Mm-hmm. And so by him curving it this year, especially in an election year and things like that, that is it just appears that it may be so that it appears that everybody's doing better. But see, I'm not with the unicorns and fairies. I need to know what the raw numbers are, mm-hmm. and are we really doing better? Because as you can think about it, you know what made me really start thinking about this? I'm hearing all these conversations that we're moving all these schools off the F list, but we still going down in national rankings. Mm. How's that possible?
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? If we're moving all these kids off the F list and all these schools off the F list, we should be going this way, mm-hmm. in the national rankings. We didn't.
That's and what you said kind of just appearing. I say this a lot on the podcast. America has a problem with trying to make something appear like it really ain't. Like y'all trying to make something appear to appease us, or to try to make, just like they doing with the fruits and vegetables now. They using this special spray to make it appear like it's new.
Yeah, I mean, where the produce is the issue. I mean, food quality and things like that is the issue here. I mean, in the U.S. markets, I mean, the foods that they produce in other countries and things like that don't look the same way as what we look like, and it does mm-hmm. not. It does not. Some mm-hmm. of them, they don't even put the same coloring and things like that. Mm-hmm. So, my close family, my first cousin lived in Germany in the Air Force, in the Army, for the last 7 years, something like that. She's been there a while, and she just came back, and the food is just so different.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, everything is different. Everybody want to make something appear the way it's not.
And once again, I'm okay if we just say that this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, once we came out and he said, hey, we were trending the scores up, mm-hmm. and we mm-hmm. This is what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? And then people decide that that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But I knew about it because I'm in touch with a lot of educators, and I'm involved in academic achievement and things like that. And I actually know some of the people who worked on grading and tests and things like that. They told me from the beginning, don't believe any of the scores you see this year because, they're not real. And I actually...
How sad is that?
Well, everybody wants to appear that it is.
That's something. What I'm saying. No. So now y'all making it appear like y'all just have... But the data's not showing what y'all trying to make it appear.
Well, it does based upon, it does show it, kind of, but is the data legitimate? I mean, because we have to be able to measure apples to apples. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so, when we are not being 100% real about what it is, then... what does that look like? Mm-hmm. So I just want to be clear about that. We have to be able to measure, and especially in school and education, it should be 100% fact-based, mm-hmm. As to what it is. Because everything that we should be talking about should be talking about data, should be talking about outcomes, should be talking about real things, mm-hmm. because I don't want a student that feel like they can read, and then they get somewhere and they can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to tell somebody. And you know what? And I'm telling you, as a teacher, I'm telling you, I have told so many parents, and even the district and people like that do not like it. But I said, your kid can't read. You know what I'm saying? Or he can't do this, or he can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'm the first person to tell you this, But it just is what it is. He just can't. And so... And yeah, I mean, I try to have as many real conversations with people, and people respond. people really respond to that. So, like, I mean, I've taught them special ed and things like that, and they kids jumping over the tables, and I go tell to the mom and say, well, he's neurodivergent, you know, that kind of thing. I said, riddle me this. At your job, do people jump over the table and call people out their name? She said, what? I said, at your job, do people jump over the table and call people out their name? The only place you could do that is jail and prison. Mm-hmm. So if we're not preparing people for jail or prison, you can't even do that at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? You jump over the counter and start calling people names, you're going to be fired.
Yeah.
You know, so are we having real outcomes? And I'm telling you, the parents is like, oh, Miss Niah, I ain't never thought about it like that. They're not mad at me. You know, I've had one parent who was a little perturbed about my accurate assessment of their child. But for the most part, people's like, what do I need to do, Miss Niah? Mm-hmm. You know, because when I bring it to you and I had a parent I've asked, well, do you plan on going to college or what is your plans? She was like, no, he's going to live with me for the rest of his life. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
At least you being real and we know where to go from here.
That is, you know, I mean, that's a parent's choice. And I am for that. You know what I'm saying? If parents, I've impressed upon the young man that this is his future, and when he gets older, you know what I'm saying, making these kind of decisions now, he may not feel that way, you know, what if something happens to, you know, your mother or your grandmother or whatever, and, you know, I've impressed upon that, but if this is what they say they want to do, I'm for parent choice, you know, and things like that. I'm not for trying to make people do something. I try to, when I'm dealing with children, I try to encourage them. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I told a little boy the other day, he was so mad at me. He was visiting my school. He was like, Miss Niah, I can't do any of this hard work. It's just so hard. And I said, this is adding. You're old enough to be able to add. And he goes to one of the best school districts in the city, and he could not add. And his mom was like, well, he's on an IEP. There's no IEPs in McDonald's. He needs to learn how to act. You know, this is not a situation. And I told her, when I told him that you are upset with me because I am requiring more of you, you should be upset with the people who require less of you. Mm-hmm. They are still in your future, and they are still in the possibilities of what you could be. And I need you to go back over to that table and sit down and do that work. You're not moving until you get it done. And guess what? He did it all. You know what I'm saying? He cried a little bit, but he did it all. Mm-hmm. So that's not a situation of his IEP or his intellect said that he could not do that. Mm-hmm. That is a situation of we just accepted less from him, and so he did not achieve. Mm-hmm. And when we require more of him, and this is one day. Mm-hmm. It's not like he with me every day. It's not anything like that. I taught him how to do something he thought he could never be able to do in one day. And it's not because I'm a great teacher. It's because I required something of him. Mm-hmm. And I set the standard. This is what you're going to do. And I'm not going to accept anything else. Mm-hmm. And he rose to it.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to do that as a teacher and as a parent.
Well, you got to remember, I will say, you know, in our day, you would have somebody there. You know, you would have a teacher to step in and say, no, not on my watch.
Right.
You know, I'm not great at math. Even though I've passed all of these finance classes and accounting classes and things like that, I'm not great at math. Mrs. Emma Washington, tore up my paper every single day and just will rip it up and throw it in the trash. Literally, chip, rip it up, throw it in the trash. And I would cry. Oh my goodness, I was so devastated. I would go home to my mom and I would just be like, she tore up my paper again. And my mom was like, you didn't do what the lady told you to do. And so, you know, you just got to do what the lady said. Mm-hmm. And she said to me when I was young that if I did not learn to do math the correct way, the way she was telling me to do it when I was older, I would not be able to complete math and things like that in high school. And she was right. Mm-hmm. So now if you give me a multiple choice test, I'm going to pass. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, because I understand the principles of math very, very well. And my son was doing some problems with his girlfriend. And I was like, that's not the right answer. And I didn't know, because this was a high level math that I don't teach every day. I was like, I didn't know I didn't know the answer per se, but I knew that was not the answer because I understand the math principles enough to be able to say that, no, this number should be double of this, or this should be the inverse of that, and that's not it. So I'm 100% sure that's not the right answer.
Right. Okay. Listen at you. Now, how important is the role of the board chair?
So it is important, you know. I mean, the board chair actually gets to, we'll get to actually go around and actually be on other boards and things like that, and actually work with, you know, the United Way and Chamber of Commerce and City Council and things like that. So we actually would be involved in actually helping with setting like the direction of the city per se. So that is an important role. But I'll just be one on the horseshoe. So my vote is not double weighted or anything like that. The board chair and the superintendent actually sets the agenda. Excuse me, but currently the rules said to where if some people want to get something on the agenda, they just have to get other board members to override us. And I'll tell you, I'm not one. If they want some on the agenda, they want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I don't shy away from hard conversations, even if I don't like what they're gonna say, and I'll be able to say in front of the camera, this is why I agree or this is why I don't agree. I'm not here to say, you know, I don't want to have 5-hour meetings, but you know, if we need to bring something that you adamant about, you want to bring it before the people, bring it before the people. And if the people decide that's what they want us to do, I'm willing to hear that, because I'm not here to tell people how to think. I hope that I can encourage the city to move in the direction that I want them to move in, but I'm not naive in saying that, you know, people are going to do this or people are going to do that. I mean, only God knows that.
Right. How important is it to have sponsorships?
Well, that is one of the things that I'm going to be doing differently, is that I'm going to be out actively seeking incentives, even it's discounts for teachers, extra pay. I'm going to be working with business leaders to try to figure out what that looks like. You know, could it be that we get some type of special incentive? Could we get 50% off one day at a store? You know, like a Friends and Family Day, you know, like all of those things, because there's only so much I can do control teacher pay, but I want people to be happy to work for OKCPS. I want us to be a district of first choice, and instead of people, you know, only people working there who can't get a job somewhere else. No, I don't want that. So I want what's best for our children, and so I am actively going to be seeking out partnerships and things like that from the city. I'll be calling everybody. All these different corporations who say they're for education, I will be calling them to say, you know, can we step it up? Can we get gas cards? Can we get what kind of incentives we can get, you know, at Christmas? I mean, I don't know, we get a free turkey. You know, I mean, like, everything matters. And so whatever I can get for them, I'm going to be trying to get for them. I'm going to be advocating at the legislature for policy changes and things like that that will make a difference in students' lives and things. So all of those kind of things I'm going to be doing. And you know, I will not. So I want people to be clear. I won't be running the day-to-day operations of the board. That is the superintendent, and that will not change. But I will plan on being out advocating for OKCPS. I've already been talking to legislators and things, legislators and things like that, to talk to them about what we can do.
Right. Now, how could schools going virtual change the position that you're running for?
Well, let me be clear. There is an issue with, they may not like, people may not like what I'm about to say, and I'm just making sure that we're actually on here. So therefore, people making sure we're there. Okay, so let me be clear. People, you repeat the question again?
Yes. What I said was, for schools going virtual, how could that change the position that you're running for?
So we will still have well, let me be clear. Virtual is not really a threat to us. I think that when we increase academic achievement and things like that, I think some of the kids that are going to EPIC and things like that and who have left the district will come back. I actually was talking to somebody today, and we were talking about winners and losers of charter schools. And I said, well, you say that because your kids go to one of the application schools. And she said, yes. I said, what would you do if you couldn't get them in? She said, I moved to Edmond like everybody else did. You understand? I mean, it just rolled off her tongue like so quickly. She said, oh, I'd moved to Edmond. She was like, there's no way I could go to one of the regular public schools. You know, I wouldn't send my kids to one of those. And so, like, we're really having that conversation, but we have 1,000 kids at the school she don't want her kids to go to. What about that 1,000 kids? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of kids to be like, oh, I don't want my kids to go there because the outcomes and things like that and the chaos and things that they have going on. Well, I don't want my kids to go there. I mean, that's a lot of people we leaving behind. I mean, that's a lot of people we leaving behind. So I just want people to understand, you know, I just want other people to understand that. One of the biggest threats I feel like that for schools right now is, you know, the immigration crisis. And so Oklahoma City Public Schools is heavily weighted with Hispanic students. And so losing 20% of the students, losing, and we could be talking about jobs. We could be talking about a lot of jobs too. I'm not talking about like 100 or 200. I mean, we could be talking with up to 1,000 jobs, and that's people, that's bus drivers, that's at all levels, linemen, mechanics, at all levels, school teachers, principals,
Doctors,
at all levels. Yeah, everything.
dentists.
Mm-hmm. So I want people to understand that. And so whether you agree with immigration or don't agree with immigration, that's not what I am saying to people, that I want to be sure that people understand that things have consequences, and for a multitude of reasons, we've allowed all of this, we've allowed a lot of students to move out of OKCPS, and we didn't really fight to keep them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So now they've gone to, and I know a lot of homeschool families. I mean, I've homeschooled my kids at some point in time. All of my kids, and some people have said, if I'm going to get an F-rated education, I might as well stay at my house to get it. Why would I be driving somewhere to give my kids a bad education? I mean, I don't like to have those kind of conversations, but there is some truth to it, And so I believe that when we increase education, we increase possibilities, we increase outcomes, I believe that some of those students will come back. Mm-hmm. And I'll be advocating for them to come back. I'll be telling people about the good news of OKCPS and come back to OKCPS and see all the great things that we have going on. Numerous teachers told me that they go around the schools and they have all these computer centers and nobody's using any of the computers. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many, like, the jobs of the future is in what?
Computers.
Right.
Technology.
And we're not even using it. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? In that we need to be, our kids need to learn how to type. They need to learn how to code. We're not one-to-one in all schools. So when we have these virtual days and we have these virtual things, what does that look like for our kids who don't have Wi-Fi, who don't have, tablets and things at home? Guess who has one-to-one tablets? Guess who have one-to-one duals? The application schools. So when we have a day and we say, oh, we're going to, have a virtual day, it looks very different for them.
Wow. Now I have a few more questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then we'll wrap it up. Okay. Now, what teacher made an impact in your life?
You always remember the ones who stretched you the most. I tell people that. Even my cousin was like, I can't stand one of the teachers in my school. I was like, she taught all your kids how to read. You know what I'm saying? And those kids will remember her. Because they could not read before. Or they were reading, they were struggling with reading before she got a hold of them, and now they can read. So she's opened up a whole world. As a matter of fact, one of the kids was just given an award. They go to OKCPS and they were just given an award on Friday because they have made so much achievement. So they came to us last year, and then they went back to OKCPS this year, and they actually won an award for how much they were reading and things. And the mom texted me and was like, I want to thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because you gave my baby a chance. And wow. So, that is one of the things, that is definitely, that's the reason why we do it.
Right. Exactly.
And so, okay. So I want to name them. You asked me what teacher. So I'll tell you Miss Washington, Miss Bobo. Miss Bobo, we, in Millwood, in an inner city school, we read Shakespeare, we actually read Othello. Wow. Yes, oh yes. And I mean, read it, like, everybody went around and took a part.
Yeah, that's what we did too.
Yes, it's so high level. She said, she told us on the first day of school, if you cannot write a paper, my name will not be on your transcript, somebody else will be in summer school. You know what I'm saying? But it won't be Shirley Bobo's name on your transcript.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you couldn't write a paper, she's going to flunk you, and she didn't care. So, I've had a lot of good teachers. I've had good math teachers, good reading teachers, and things like that. But Miss Thomas, I remember Miss Easley out. But I've been blessed. I was blessed in it. I had some really, Miss Jones at Rogers. I've had some really, really good teachers who I want to apologize now. Because I was really bright, but I was not a great student. First generation, my parents never went to college, didn't impress upon me. Some of the things we were doing, they didn't even know how to do. And so, I had to get it out the mud, just, and that kind of thing. So, I could, and I look back actually, like many of my cohorts who were in AP and honors classes with me all became engineers, computer scientists and things like that. I didn't even know what that was. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I graduated high school, they were all going to do that. I had no idea even what that was. And so, could have been an engineer, if somebody would have saw that in me and said, and let me just say, so everybody knows me as Malika, believe it or not. If you know my mom, you ask her, why does everybody know me as Malika? Niah is my legal name. Malika is my middle name. And so sometimes since I've been in Oklahoma, I start referring to myself as Malika. But my legal name is Niah. And so when you see me on the ballot, it will say Niah.
Oh, yeah, I voted for you.
Yeah.
I ain't playing. I went out and voted on the early vote.
Yeah, well, baby, we get ready to be early.
That's going to make a difference.
Yes. And that we need to stop voting for people. Okay. So, do not take offense, any candidates or anything like that. But I am very concerned about the candidates that people are pushing up on us and things like that. And the powers that be are saying, as a matter of fact, it was said just this week that I was seriously overstepping my boundaries and that it was implied that I need to learn to stay in my place.
Do you know my next question was, has someone ever told you or made you feel like you aren't qualified because of your ethnicity or sex?
Maybe implied, but...
Never to your face.
Okay, so... I'm highly qualified. For any job I've ever had, I've actually been overqualified for. Let me be clear about that. Even when I worked at the bank, I was working next to people with GEDs. You know what I'm saying? So I had an MBA. So academic prowess, as far as my academic standards, my academic rigor, I'm very knowledgeable about a lot of different things because for some reason I just pick up things and read all kind of weird things like all the time. If something come on my feed, I go and check. Like I need to know the history behind it. I need to know everything about it. And so I'm naturally inquisitive, so it makes me very knowledgeable about many different topics. I do not, and actually one thing that makes me different is I don't know everything, but I know somebody who does. And so I'll actually call my homegirl and be like, hey, what is this? You know what I'm saying? What's going on with this? And give me the, 60-second catch up, And so that is, and that makes me, very malleable and that, I can be very flexible. And so, yes, no, they try, but do not come for me, because qualifications, and I know that, I know that my pathway might be different, but I am highly qualified for this job. I'm more than qualified for this job.
Now,
because let me be clear, the current person who there is not a teacher, has never taught a class. So therefore, when somebody says to her, we should do this new great program, or we should do, do you really understand the standards and how they go together and where that comes from and where that's going to end? Because I've taught from elementary to high school. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we sit here and start talking about the peace and God, when we sit here and start talking about POCs, we sit and we start talking about standards and things like that, I know exactly where they are and I know what they look like. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, I come with a perspective that's very unique. The current incumbent who's been there for 9 years, nobody's ever questioned her qualifications. She's never been in a classroom. She's never taught a class. Do you understand what I'm saying? She works in a medical profession and things. So, she learn? So, whatever, I may have a shortcoming or maybe I don't know something, and I'm not going to say I'm all-knowing, but whatever it is, I'm going to catch up, but I'm going to catch up quick. And so do not do that.
Right. And now you said they try to hush you. Like, what? How did that make you feel?
Well, we are stepping on toes here. We are, because in Oklahoma politics, you may not follow it as closely as I have over the years, but there's a perspective out there as to who we should vote for. And we've been giving candidates. I tell people all the time, in the county commissioner's race, previous, there was Anastasia and Carrie on the ballot. If you don't like Anastasia, we're not talking about whether Anastasia was good. We're not talking about whether the Carrie is good. There were two people on the ballot. And so, therefore, you had a 50-50 choice as to who you were going to vote for, one or the other. And in that, and people voted, people came in the race. and actually kind of eluded or actually said who we should vote for. And I would say that cost the East Side a lot of money, because when we didn't know COVID was coming next and all that COVID money was going to be released on the East Side. And there were 3 county commissioners, and in some cases they split the money. So if they got $10 million, they split it 3 ways, and that county commissioner could give it away to anybody they wanted to. I mean, the whole, 3-point-something million dollars. They just write a check, you have it. So and it was not, you didn't have to pay it back. It was not a loan. So when we have been given representation and kind of being told as to, who we're going to vote for or what we're going to do, I mean, there's consequences to that. Because we need to vote for people who are going to represent us and represent our interests. People who are going to move the way we want them to move. People who are going to do what we want them to do. Because people do not like MAGA. They don't, okay? But guess what? MAGA, if they vote you in, they will vote you out quickly. Do you understand that? They do not play about that. Do not do what they want you to do. They will vote you out. And we're not doing that. We're not holding people accountable in our areas and things like that. We're just not doing it. And they are very unified in that. They will vote them people out. They have no qualms. All the way from the governor to anybody, if they don't like you. Oh, and I can name them, because I actually go to a bunch of conservative meetings. I talk to them all the time. I know Ryan Walters to all the way down. Senator Langford, all these people, I know them. And because I think if you're serious about education, they're running education. And so if we're not in the conversation, then we're on the table. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so it's not all the things. When you go to the meetings, I will say, for the most part, it's not all the things you see on TV. They're very orderly. They're very they're not as, scary as the stuff you see on the TV. But when you are there with them, you have to be, we have to have conversations with people we don't like, or people that we may disagree with, and things like that. Because how can we say that we're for public education, and the people who's controlling public education, we're not even willing to talk to? And so, and I'm here to ask them, as a matter of fact, everybody's saying about Ryan Walters, and people say they don't like Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters just bought all the people from Okcps, including my opponent, into the board member to talk about all the positive things going on at Okcps and how he's so excited about the trajectory of Okcps. That's really interesting. He's never called them in before, so why did he feel the need to call them in now and tell them this a week before the election? But I'm sure, that's just quite interesting.
But we know what's up, seriously. Now, my last 2 questions is, as many years if you've been a teacher, have you ever experienced racism?
So you don't really, I will say, maybe not racism as much as there's a lot of classism and things like that going on, in that I think we have to understand, especially in a district and in urban districts, it's more socioeconomic, actually. It's not really a race thing, because the poor Anglo kids, at Taft and at, Webster or at Capitol Hill, and the poor Hispanic kids and the poor black kids are all there together. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're all getting equally either a good education or a poor education. And so I think that is more socioeconomic. We do get people who maybe don't have the best interest of the kids that they're teaching in some cases and things like that. And so, we get things like that. But I also feel that the other side of it is who's holding them accountable. A teacher actually said to me, well, I used to work in admin, but now I had to come over here because I would need to work 3 jobs, and I had to work too hard in admin, and so I can work 3 jobs and still teach at Okcps.
So now you're saying you don't got to work that hard at?
I mean, that's what I took it as.
Me, I did too.
That's what I took it as. So he came here so he did not have to work as hard, I mean, okay, and so, so I think it's a lot of things like that. And we have not held teachers, administrators, students, parents accountable enough. And that we said we need to raise the bar, and see if people, and that is a very basic sociology principle, in that everything should operate in a bell curve. So you should have some at the bottom, some at the top, and everybody else should be in the middle. So anytime you're off the bell curve, because that's the natural way of like society, right? And so when you get off that bell curve, you can have forces that can push that bell curve to winning. You can have forces that can push it to losing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you see KIPP and other models, and you see Texas, you see other schools who have forces that's pushing them to winning, right? But I would say Oklahoma City Public Schools and things like that has forces that's coming to get to, whether they realize it or not. And somebody from KIPP Academy, the old KIPP under Tracy, and it was not Tracy, so don't start go yelling at Tracy, but one of his staff came to me when I visited them, because I visited successful schools even before I started doing this. This was years back. And she said, well, Niah, you know that the plan here is to win. And then I was like, yeah, I get that. I've studied y'all test scores. Y'all do amazing work. Because their goal was advanced. Their goal was not proficient. Mm-hmm. So their goal was everybody to be in the advanced category. And so I said, yeah. And she said, well, you know the goal of your school is to lose. And I said, what? She was like, yeah, whether you know it or not, that's the goal. She was like, naturally, schools come in, you should have some up years, some down years and things like that, because, all the kids aren't going to be just really bright, but all the kids aren't really not bright. She was like, so everything should kind of be, with that. So anytime every year is failing, whether they know it or not, the goal is to actually fail. They're planning to fail. I mean, just really take that in. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I was like, that just hit me like a... You know what I'm saying? Because at first I was like, what? But when she said that, she was like, it's statistically improbable for something to fail for every year. She said it's statistically improbable for something to fail for every year. You should have up years, you should have down years, you should have good years, you should have bad years. But if you're statistically failing every year, whether you're understanding it or not, the goal has been, the plan is to fail. Because every year you're failing. So whether or not that was your original plan, that is now the plan.
Wow. And if that didn't hit you like a ton of bricks, I don't know what will. You guys, it's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no limits. Make sure that you follow my guest, Niah, on all social media. Niah for Okcps on all social media. Is there anything you would like to leave the people with?
Well, I need people to get out and vote. I need people to tell people about the possibilities that we could do something else. We have to be talking about multiplication at this point, and that I need you to tell people, and I need you to ask them to tell 2 people, tell 3 people, and things like that, because people are going to the polls already. They went Thursday and Friday, and if they did not know who I was, they may not would have voted for me. But to be honest, they don't know who she is either. So they just voting like, oh, let's just eeny, meeny, miny, moe it. We cannot eeny, meeny, miny, moe the school board. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? We have to be intentional about knowing who's going to be on the school board and who's going to represent us and things. So I would say that, I need everybody to get out and vote on Tuesday. The weather may be bad, but, we going to the mall, we going to the club.
Mm-hmm. Y'all want to get them Jordans?
Yes, we are.
I seen a line. Y'all was standing in line for them retro Jordans this morning in the cold. I'm talking about it was so cold.
Yes. No, them is not even the only ones that have come out, because they came out before and you were sitting in the cold. So I need people with equal energy to stand out there and make sure your vote is counted. It actually won't even be a line. And I'm going to post in the comments the link to where, if you don't know where you're supposed to go to vote, where it can tell you. And so I'll post it in the comments today, because somebody actually inboxed me and said, Miss Niah, I keep asking you where to go vote. You keep saying where we go in the presidential election. I've never voted in the presidential election, but I want to vote for you. Can you please tell me where I need to go to vote? Right. She didn't know where to go to vote. Mm-hmm. And so, and I kind of, that is my...
Oklahoma County election.
Yes.
If you guys didn't know, if you keep up with the couch on my couch potatoes, I did a news segment right in front of the place the other day. So,
But you cannot vote there on Tuesday. On Tuesday, you have to go to your precinct, your neighborhood precinct on Tuesday. So you cannot go to the county election board. You have to go to your precinct on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So you need to find out. I will post a link to where you just put your name in and your address.
Right in the live.
Yes, I'll post it right in there. And you go there and you figure out where you're supposed to go to vote. If you get there and they say you're not on the roll, if they say you don't have an ID, if whatever they say you don't have, you ask them for a provisional ballot. And I don't care if it's 559. They have to give you a provisional ballot and allow you to vote. And then you'll have time or whatever, and the election board needs to contact you about that ballot, then they will. But you do not let anyone tell you at the wrong polling station, anything like that. If you go to the wrong polling station, ask for a provisional ballot. If you do not have your ID, ask for a provisional ballot. Do not let, and if you have any problem with that, inbox me on Facebook, and I will make sure that somebody from the election board, we get this straight, because I've taken somebody before, and they was like, well, it's too late to get a provisional ballot. I was like, it's 5:50. It's not too late. And she does not have ID. She need a provisional ballot. And so you have to be demanding for what you want.
Yes.
Not disrespectful. We have to just ask with authority and just wait and let them know that you do not plan on moving until they get you one.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And so, yes, everybody get out and vote on Tuesday. Make your vote count.
Yes.
Stop letting other people make decisions for you. Go out and vote.
And don't think that, oh, well, I'm not going to vote. It's my vote won't count. No, your vote does count. You just didn't go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because you're not doing it.
Right. And especially in this environment. We need strong local people in this environment that's going to protect us and going to be looking at our interests and things like that. Maybe no other time in our lifetime, has it been as important to have strong local leaders, because we probably are going to lose the federal protection. Trump has already said he's going to close the federal Department of Education and even other. So we're talking about county commissioner and city council. He's talking about closing other services as well. So we're not going to have those federal protections, and we already don't have some at the state. So we're going to need strong local leaders to advocate for us, hold people accountable, and make sure that we get what we're supposed to get.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Niah, for being
Thank
on the
you
couch.
for inviting me.
Yes, anytime.
Yes.
You guys make sure that you get out there and vote Tuesday, February the 11th. It's the Couch Chronicles, where it ain't no limits. I love you guys so much. I know y'all not used to me on Saturday, but because you subscribed, then you know Couch Potatoes when I'm live, right? I'm just saying. Have a good night.
Oh, that went great.
Yes, it did.
We didn't have that many people watching, but that's okay. We're going to come back. I'm going to come back.
Actually, there's still 62 people right there.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Oh, yes, it's everywhere. We everywhere. It's just, you can't really see. Look, we got 3,000 something hearts just now. 4,400 diamonds.
You get money for diamonds?
Oh, yeah. Good night. Okay.
Oh, that was TikTok.